go every month feeling like crap for 14 to 15 days of it. It's like,
Yeah.
I'm a horrible mom that way. I'm moody. I'm in pain. I'm tired. And so that was kind of the point that I got to where I was like, I just can't function as a mother this way or a wife this way anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Because when you feel terrible like that, it's beyond just the fertility, right? It's beyond just being able to have a kid. It's like your well-being. And if you feel that terrible for 14 or 15 days out of the month, one, like you said, it's impossible to be a good mom. Two, it's not fair to you, right? To have to live like that. But if you feel that bad, what else is it doing to your body?
Yeah.
And so it was very thoughtful of you to put that all together. We don't, I feel like so many times we get stuck in the drive to have a baby that we will do anything to get there, myself included. I totally did it. Like I did treatment after treatment. I did, supplement after supplement. And even though I continued to feel worse, I continued to do it and didn't listen to my body or what it was trying to tell me, because it was so important to me to get pregnant. And the doctors were telling me this is what will work. Right. But now looking back, I was like, my body was trying to tell me it wasn't right. Like it was trying to tell me, like, first I need to be okay before I can grow a human. Yeah, absolutely. So I find it interesting, the conversation you had with your husband, because I think that is one of the hardest things that so many of our women go through, is trying to get their spouses to understand why they want to do this, why it's so important, why they're willing to invest money and time and effort into the fertile method. And so often we hear that the husbands are like, well, I don't want to spend that much money, or I need a new shed. We need this. We're buying a house. And I honestly, I can't imagine that many husbands just don't care. I think what happens is we don't know how to explain it. And I went through the same thing with my husband. I didn't know how to explain it to him. So if you don't mind elaborating a little bit on how you had that conversation, like, is he a guy who just like listens to you that well, or did you really have to lay it out? Like, how did you get him on board with you?
Well, I told him about it at first because I found the ad on Facebook for your Facebook page, and then for the first 4 steps. And so I looked at that, and then scheduled my consult with Melissa, and that went really well. And then when we talked, because for both of us, again, it was so fresh, the loss was so fresh. And with my age, I had a year and 4 months until I turned 40, and so it was like, for me, it was like a ticking clock.
Right. Like the ticking time bomb, right?
Not saying you can't have kids after 40. People do.
Right. No, and we see it all the time, but the doctors will make you feel like there's no way you can.
So, and when I said to him, I need this, and I laid out for him, like, I feel like crap. I can't live like this anymore. And could we have done other things to get my nutrition on track? Probably. But having that accountability, I think, the constant accountability, the constant ability to talk to someone and to get questions answered, and basically somebody to hold your hand through it.
Yeah.
And he needed it too. Like, we as a family needed the overhaul of our health system, of our nutrition system, because we were eating like crap. And he's a teacher and a soccer coach, so fall gets super busy for him. So to have that to help him, it was a much easier fall for us than so even though like it seemed like it was going to be rigid and hard, it actually went so much easier for us because we had the plan set before school started, before soccer started. And so it was really helpful that way. But he's one that's going to be a little bit more understanding, I think, than, and I mean, he's a teacher in a middle school where there's not, I mean, unfortunately there's not, and especially in the rural communities, there's not as many male teachers out there. So,
he's surrounded by a lot of females, huh?
And so he would get comments all the time, even from way before this, like, oh, I wish my husband would do that for me, or like other guys that he does work with. You need to stop doing that. You're going to make us all look bad. You make us all look bad. And he's like, good. You need to step it up then. Like, so he's one of those husbands that, I mean, when I am pregnant, he's cooking. He's doing most of the cooking. He's doing all the dishes. He helps with the house cleaning. He helps with the laundry if he has to. It's one thing he hates is laundry. So,
I don't blame him. I'm right there with him. That's my husband's chore. He does I will not do laundry. I hate laundry.
And I don't mind. So
gotcha. That's amazing. Yeah. And it sounds like, you really did lay it out for him. You didn't say, hey, I want to go do this fertile method. I want to invest in this. I want to do this because, like we're trying to have a baby. Like you did a great job. Like, listen, here's the things, I don't feel good. This isn't good for me. This isn't healthy. Like we need to figure this out. And that's amazing that he was so supportive and so on board. And from everything that I've, gotten to know about you, through the fertile method, like he's always in the background cooking, and like it seems, he's a good guy. He's a good guy.
He would
so
come
that's
home
awesome.
before soccer games and be my sous chef. So do all my chopping for me. So.
Amazing. That's terrific. So the whole family's benefited, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
And all feeling better. And like I always tell the women, like there's two sides to this. Like we take it on completely as women. Like we have a tendency to do that, but it's super important for, your partner to be as healthy as possible too. Not just, to conceive and have a healthy baby, because that's half their DNA, but also like you're raising kids, right? Don't you want to, be in a good place and be as healthy as possible when you're starting that journey? Yeah. So what do you think, if you had any, like what was your biggest hesitation or your biggest resistance to starting the program and really like embracing? Because once you started, you were like all in, like you came in guns blazing, like I'm going to do it, which is amazing. But was there any resistance prior to that, or any nervousness about what you were doing?
I think, the financial part was probably living on a teacher salary was our biggest, my husband's too, his biggest hesitation. And then, I mean, we've done other things in the past, like nutrition wise, like we've done Whole30, so we know how to cut things out and add things in. And I've done 21-day fix, so like paring things back, and stayed consistent with those before. So that wasn't the hard part. I think for me, it was also like, needs to be a lifestyle change, whether we decide to have another baby or not. So what does that mean for the holidays? Thanksgiving, Christmas, because I mean, Christmas cookies are kind of my downfall.
Right.
But thankfully I did not crave them this year and limited myself to just a couple. Or the dairy, cutting out foods that cause inflammation, and especially dairy. I mean, here in the Midwest, or even you read all the things to eat during the first trimester of pregnancy. Yogurt and cheese are on the top of the list all the time. And I'm like, ugh. So that was probably like knowing that I was going to have to cut things out for the short term would have been is fine. But then thinking needs to be long term. This can't be just for it was 8 weeks when I first started. So 8 or 12 weeks. It can't just be 12 weeks. It has to be a full lifestyle change beyond that, because I've tried stuff like that before,
right.
And I didn't stick with it
Gotcha.
For my lifetime, if that makes sense. So
yeah, absolutely. And I think that's what happens over and over again, right? So we have the best intentions and, it's like we start something guns a-blazing and then, weekend, everything, all the cravings start, everything happens and you're right back to where you were. And so then, you're shaming yourself because you couldn't do it and you're blaming yourself and your willpower and this, that, and the other thing. And we end up in this huge negative cycle. And by doing all of that diet kind of yo-yoing, we're doing more damage than we are good, right? For our hormones. But it's really hard to stick with. So knowing that the finance piece and kind of making the changes was the resistance, one, how were you able to work through that resistance? And then two, like you said, with, you had tried so many things in the past and you would fall off. Why was it different this time? So 2 different questions there.
The resistance with finances, part of it, we stopped eating out. Eating out was no longer fun to me.
Right.
If I can't go and just eat all the gross food, and why go out? So, because that usually was a treat for me, or other than the Subway every day, going out was a treat. So it's like, so we saved money that way. We stopped eating Subway. So we invested in Fertile Plan, but we saved by I wasn't getting lattes all the time. I wasn't going out to Subway every day. We weren't taking the kids out to eat as much anymore. So we weren't ordering pizza every Friday night. We were making stuff at home instead. I'm not saying you can't have pizza. Because we found ways to have pizza. So absolutely, right? And like we always talk about in the Fertile Method, it's progress, not perfection. Like you have to be able to have fun, carefree food where you don't think about it. But the problem is once you feel good, you know what it feels like when you eat that, right? Yeah. My goat cheese at Thanksgiving. So
yes.
Well.
Yes. And it's not even worth it after you realize what it does to your body and how terrible you feel.
Yep.
But
yeah. So that resistance, and then things in the past, 21 Day Fix, I did really good with it. I got pregnant and then went mostly back on it. I would say I was probably about 70-30 sticking with it. What people don't tell you is a lot of women crave more when they're nursing than they do when they're pregnant.
Oh yeah. And hands down. Yeah.
I craved Monster cookies. So I'm like a cookies and milk type of person. So, so that kind of, I stuck with it with most of the plan, and then that happened. And then after my 4th, I had postpartum anxiety really bad. So, which can signify something wrong with your hormones.
It almost always does, yes. I love